Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Look, if you're leading research, engineering, or scientific strategy, you already know modern physics is kinda hitting a wall, right? I mean, we've got these mathematically beautiful models for sure, but manipulating matter at the quantum level, it still heavily relies on abstract probabilities and frankly, arbitrary constants. But today, we're exploring a totally radical physical framework shift. This recent research moves us away from abstract math and drops us into a highly predictable visual realm. It's called the absolute medium.
Now think about that for a second. What if the fundamental building blocks of the universe aren't blocks at all? I mean, standard quantum mechanics asks us to just believe that an electron is this dimensionless, static dot sitting in a completely empty void, yet it somehow possesses mass and a lifespan of, well, practically forever. Our source material today absolutely challenges that traditional view. It asks us to reimagine reality, not as a collection of static particles, but as a dynamic, fluid-elastic system.
So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the point-particle illusion, then move into the concept of a fluid-elastic universe. From there, we'll explore the immortal topological seed, mass, geometry, and neutrality, before wrapping up with the cosmic metabolic cycle and a brand new experimental blueprint. Let's get to it.
All right, part 1, the point-particle illusion, and how we're completely redefining the electron.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how, historically, the paradoxes of the standard model have totally bottlenecked material and quantum R&D. We've been treating particles as zero-volume points, yet we assign them physical properties. The standard model has given us this static void, dimensionless points, and all these arbitrary constants that we're basically told to just accept as magic numbers. But the absolute medium framework, it presents a living continuum. Matter isn't a thing sitting in the universe. It's a topological knot made of the universe. We are literally shifting from particle physics to fluid elastic mechanics. Moving on to part 2, a fluid elastic universe and the idea of a living continuum.
Okay, to really grasp this, I want you to picture the universe not as some empty theater, but as a continuous, highly pressurized tension net. The framework introduces what's called the absolute medium, or AM, and the dissociative pressure field, the DP field. Think of the universe like a continuous, incredibly powerful river. In this everyday water analogy, a particle, like an electron, isn't a rock sitting in the river. It's a persistent whirlpool, a stable flow state. It's a localized dynamic fold formed out of this continuous, quasi-incompressible tension net where the pressure constantly rushes inward, circulates, and pushes outward.
So you might be wondering, how does a whirlpool stay perfectly stable without decaying over time? Well, the source details the 8 axioms of persistence. Basically, these are strict fluid elastic rules that prevent structural decay. I specifically want to highlight the last one here, the stability symmetry principle. It ensures that the inward and outward flow within this tension net is perfectly balanced. Any perturbation is instantly dampened by the medium's elastic stress, keeping matter in perpetual equilibrium. No discrete points, just persistent geometric shapes maintained entirely by fluid elastic stress.
Which brings us to part 3, the immortal topological seed.
So, the crucial point here is internal structure. In this framework, the electron consists of a frozen core and an active skin. The core is completely saturated. It has reached the absolute limit of how tightly the continuum can fold, making it perfectly incompressible and dynamically frozen. Surrounding that is the active skin, which constantly converts the immense, crushing pressure of the universe into perpetual angular momentum. So this active skin perpetually protects the frozen core, turning the electron into a self-refreshing geometric engine, a dynamic invariant, if you will.
But wait, why doesn't it just unravel? The framework explains this through what they call the continuity lock. See, the universe strictly forbids a discontinuous tear, a singular vacuum rupture. So the electron doesn't just passively survive the passage of time, it is literally the absolute simplest closed topological knot allowed by the medium. Because it has no simpler admissible state to decay into, the crushing pressure of the universe physically traps it in this exact shape. It acts as fluid elastic scar tissue, actively preventing the tension net from tearing.
All right, part 4. Let's talk about mass, geometry, and atomic neutrality.
This is where the predictive power really clicks into place. In the standard model, the proton is about 1836 times heavier than the electron, and we just accept that as a given fundamental constant. But in the absolute medium framework, there's no magic here. This number is a direct mathematical derivation of harmonic topological complexity. It's a concrete, calculable metric based entirely on fluid elastic resonance and saturation limits.
And here is the major paradigm shift. Mass is simply the macroscopic measurement of a localized knot's internal topological complexity. Remember that saturation limit we just talked about? All matter hits the exact same maximum strain limit in its frozen core. A proton isn't made of some denser physical substance than an electron. It's simply a larger multi-lobe vortex that has to lock up a larger geometric volume of the medium to remain stable.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference between mass and charge. Mass is all about internal geometric complexity, that frozen core and the active skin required to protect it. Charge, on the other hand, is the external fluid dynamic exhaust. It's the unclosed advective flux radiating outward into the baseline medium. So mass is internal geometry. Charge is external fluid dynamic flow. Simple as that.
This completely resolves the one-to-one neutralization paradox. Like, why does a tiny electron perfectly neutralize a massive proton? Well, because the electron acts as a highly malleable sheath. When it's drawn in by a proton, the electron violently stretches around the proton's shell. It captures the proton's open outward flow lines and flawlessly feeds them back inward. Atomic neutrality isn't about matching mass at all. It's about the perfect fluid dynamic closure of a circuit.
Moving on to Part 5, the cosmic metabolic cycle and how the universe manages kinetic strain.
Let's look at pair production. In standard models, matter just kind of materializes from a void if enough energy is present. But in this fluid elastic blueprint, pair production behaves like a mechanical buckling of the tension net. A massive topological wave hits a dense area, creating a localized shock wave. To prevent the continuum from rupturing under that stress, the universe violently buckles, tying two opposing knots, an electron and a positron. It's a purely mechanical response to extreme strain. Conversely, particle decay is strictly a mechanical, topological reconfiguration event. Heavy, complex, multi-lobed knots experience overwhelming pressure from the dp field. Eventually, their intricate flow lines just fail under the strain, and they mechanically unspool, snapping into structurally simpler lower-energy configurations. This perfectly explains why the simplest knot, the electron, is immortal. It's already at the bottom rung. There's literally no simpler state for it to unspool into. Now, let's zoom out for a second and see how this builds a picture of the entire universe as a self-healing, breathing medium. The very graininess of space acts as a continuous, energetic heartbeat. Its quasi-incompressible nature is this incredible auto-regulatory defense mechanism that hardens under extreme pressure. And matter itself? Like we said, it functions as localized fluid elastic scar tissue, isolating extreme stress to protect the universal continuum from tearing. Even massive cosmic structures play a role here. Black holes are not mathematical singularities where physics just breaks down and throws its hands up. In this framework, they are vital metabolic sinks. When the tension net is pushed beyond its absolute elastic limit, it forms an isolation bubble. Black holes seal off that extreme, catastrophic topological strain, preventing singular vacuum tears, and they eventually recycle that energy right back into the ambient absolute spacetime.
Finally, Part 6, a new experimental blueprint and what this means for redefining research.
So, for you science executives out there, here are the bottom line takeaways. The absolute medium framework moves us away from abstract quantum probability and right into visual, predictable, fluid elastic mechanics. It completely eliminates arbitrary constants by mathematically deriving mass hierarchy from structural complexity and those saturation thresholds we discussed. For your R&D teams, it provides an incredibly clear step-by-step guide. You're no longer trying to manipulate invisible points, you are engineering invariant topological flow states within a pressurized continuum. Our source text beautifully summarizes this shift, stating, "The absolute medium is a singular, hyperpressurized, living continuum, fiercely maintaining its own unbroken integrity." I just love that. It paints this incredibly cinematic picture of the cosmos. It's not an empty, passive theater where things just happen to exist. It is a highly reactive, auto-regulatory, fluid elastic engine. Every single particle of matter is literally a testament to the universe protecting itself. I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. If matter isn't just a collection of hard blocks, but rather a stable flow state in a fluid elastic continuum, how will this blueprint change our manipulation of materials tomorrow? By understanding the exact geometric saturation thresholds and fluid dynamic circuits of the atom, the next century of innovation in material science looks absolutely profound. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.